And I think we are live. Welcome, Dom Harvey.
Hello, Sean.
How are you, sir?
Sensational.
Thank you so much for doing this. So, Dom Harvey is celebrating 30 years in radio this week, and he's got a dog that. Oh, there we go, Dom Harvey. When did you get that? Who got that for you?
Last week. It was it says 30-year anniversary. This is to certify that Dominic Harvey has worked for MediaWorks for 30 years. So it's I don't know, it's kind of like a verification. It's like, I know I've worked there. It doesn't say he's been good. It doesn't say it's basically just he's been there.
Hey, that's seriously what an amazing achievement, man. That's so good. And in a week where in the same week where COVID is all gone, apparently. That's an amazing achievement, man. 30 years. Well done.
Thank you. It's you must feel the same way because we're of a similar age.
Yes.
The years just sort of they just sort of happen, and it's not till you pause, take a breath, and look back that you go, "Fuck, that's a long time."
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Besides being one of my closest friends, I really love you as a broadcaster, and I'm being genuine here. I tell you what I love about you is that over that 30 years, you have evolved as far as you start off at this particular character and then you move to this and then you mature and you do other stuff, and I reckon that's the sign of a really great broadcaster. Another example, I think he's a hero of yours, he's definitely a hero of mine, is Howard Stern. Same thing. Howard used to be really, really shocking. Now he does these really kind of well thought out pieces, and he's just, and I think that's what makes you so good. That's why you're still around after 30 years when a lot of people aren't,
Oh, well, thanks very much. Yeah, I think well, for me the key is to like keep learning. Like I've never been particularly talented or anything, but I think the strengths I do have are just a really good work ethic and
very good work ethic. Yeah,
be prepared to work as hard or harder than anyone else, and just like be a sponge and keep learning and keep learning with people along the way. But oh my God, I love Howard Stern as well. I'm a massive Stern fan, and he is still quite shocking. Like I suppose the spikes he gets or the peaks he gets that you hear about are his amazing interviews, but the shocking stuff is still in there. But he's definitely not as angry as what he was.
I saw a video for the first time of Howard Stern's that I'd seen this particular video, and it was Cyndi Lauper singing True Colours, and it's acoustic, right. And it's absolutely beautiful performance, and you're listening to it going, this is amazing. And then at the end of it, Howard goes, like a rainbow. And it was just, the timing was brilliant. And I don't know if I tagged you in, but when I heard that, I laughed for a couple of reasons. One, because here was this magical moment with goosebumps on your face. It was so good. And then he just put this at the end. I thought, that is actually what Dominic would do. He would do exactly the same thing. It was really well done. So why don't we start? Why don't we start by celebrating this 30 years? Why don't we go back to where it started? You started in Palmerston North. Talk us through, because a lot of people won't actually know those days.
Well, yeah, I decided maybe when I was 13 or 14 that I really, really wanted to do radio, and I just had this burning desire to be a radio broadcaster. I suppose the valuable lesson there is to, like be careful what you wish for and maybe set your goals a bit higher, because you might just reach your goals. But there was a fantastic local radio station in Palmerston North. It's now a More FM station. But at the time it was a privately owned station called 92.2 XSFM, which is like an institution in New Zealand radio, and so many amazing broadcasters have passed through it. So I started doing like work experience there through Palmerston North Boys High School, and basically just volunteered and hustled and did as much as I could, because I came to the realization, so a lot of people said to me early on, like the key to get into radio, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I didn't know anyone of note, so I thought I need to get myself in a position where I do know people. So by volunteering, that was the best way to go about it, and that's how you and I became friends, Sean. Sean at the time, I must have been like 15 or 16. Sean, a couple of years older. Fantastic, fabulous black hair everywhere. I know it's hard to believe. The most amazing black hair, and just a terrible smoker. Like, must have been 40 ciggies a day.
At least. And do you know what? I always tell people about this, about our relationship, because, I think you were about 15 or 16. I think you put the records away or something like that. And seriously, I had a fairly high opinion of myself in our conversations. I can remember really clearly. I would sit back like this, talking to you like I was a radio veteran. And pontificating, going, well, if you're gonna be, around this, like I'd been in radio for about 5 minutes, but we were very good friends, and God, you did so well. So you
back then, it was almost like one step away from Sean saying to me, "Gotta get a napkin and write this down. This is good."
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But one thing that you may not remember this, a beautiful thing that you did for me. I had this scrapbook, and it's out the back somewhere. And I was going, take the scrapbook and put it in the rubbish, will you, mate? I don't need bloody scrapbook any longer. And years and years and years passed. And one day you went, here's that scrapbook that you told me to throw out. I never threw it out. And I was like, how can you be any kinder than that? Kinder and cooler. So tell me about the Mike West and Baldrick days. Tell me how that all happened, because obviously Mike West, there's a radio legend.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we get into that, maybe we go back a little bit, and I'll just say how inspired I was by you when I was starting out. We used to, I was still at school and I was trying to get into radio. You were in radio as I suppose a junior copywriter.
Yeah.
You had no social life, very few friends, and
nothing's changed.
And you spent all weekend just hanging out at the radio station, just basically tinkering away, like a lot of guys do in their shed at home, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
And there's no place that I would have rather have been at the time than at the radio station. And you'd be like writing, recording, and singing jingles and sending them off to like Rick Dees for his weekly countdown. That scrapbook you're talking about had rejection letters that you got from
I know, yeah,
Gadsby and TV shows like that. So I do remember one week, I think you got one of your jingles played on the Kasem countdown or the Rick Dees countdown, and I found it hugely inspiring that if you could do that from a studio in Palmerston North, nothing was off limits.
Yeah, nobody appreciated the fact that I had sent off like 100 different things, and this was one thing that came through, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's fantastic!" It's like, let me tell you about the other 99 that I never heard back from. But no, they were good days, and I think you're right. It is about, and I agree with you. For any broadcasters that are sort of starting off, or even broadcasters that have been doing it for years, you do have to be hungry. You still have to be hungry, and you have to continue to reinvent yourself. How about your really good friend Robert Scott? The same thing. He has that same energy, doesn't he, today, as he did, 30 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah, so, and he's still tuning out the goods. It seems like the category that he's in for the Radio Awards, it seems like he's won that every year for the last 48 years.
Yeah. Hey, you've won your fair share too, man. Hey, so let's go Mike West, Baldrick. Let's talk about those days, some of the highlights. Because we've had a lot to get through. You've got 30 years.
Okay, yes. So for anyone that doesn't know, Mike West, radio legend in Palmerston North, he's still there doing the breakfast show on 92.2 More FM in Palmerston North. And when I started in May 1990, I was doing the midnight to 6 a.m. show, which was called Live Mid-Dawns. And then in a regional market like that, part of your duty is when you finished off the year, you had to spend 2 hours, and I guess a pseudo producer role, which basically meant just sit at reception and answer the phones for a couple of hours for the breakfast announcer. And I think Mike West just saw my hunger and saw my passion and saw my desire, and just like gave me a little bit of on-air time, and I became this character on a show called Baldrick, because the show Blackadder was big on TV at the time. And Baldrick was like Blackadder's slave. So it's weird, like telling the millennials at the edge now, they're like, what's a Baldrick? And I'm like, you guys know Mr. Bean? He had this other show, and so anyway, no, Mike was really, really good to me. And I served my apprenticeship there and some, and we had a fantastic radio partnership for like 11 years, and I learned so much off the guy in terms of like work ethic and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a lifeline for me because I was atrocious on the air on my own. So I think I would have been a radio casualty if it had not been for Mike West. I think I would have done a few years at midnight to 6 a.m., seen no sort of career progression, which is usually like going on to the nighttime show, 7 to midnight, or going on a daytime slot. That would not have happened for me because I just wasn't good enough. But by being sort of Mike's sidekick, or whatever you want to call it, I ended up carving quite a decent regional career out of it, which was like a lifeline.
Westy's actually watching now, which is great.
Hey.
He's. I think you're right. I credit Mike for developing a work ethic. Like I would watch him, and he just lived and breathed it 24/7 because he just loved it so much. Yeah, no, he's a fantastic guy. Anything else about those days in Palmy?
What's that?
Anything else about those days in Palmy that you want to share?
Oh, they were just that it was phenomenal times, really, and it was an incredible comfort zone, and leaving was the most terrifying thing. And I've lived out of Palmerston for almost like 20 years now, and I go back, and it saddens me, the state of the place in some ways, because there's this beautiful main street called Broadway, which had these big trees, and they chopped the trees down because they were shitting on car windscreens and stuff. And now there's a big mall called Plaza, and that sort of sucked the lifeline out of the rest of the town. So you got this beautiful street called Broadway now with like tree stumps and a whole lot of empty shops. So it feels kind of depressing in some ways going back there. But at the time, I loved it more than any other place, and it was the most terrifying thing to leave it, quite frankly. Because
I bet.
Me and Mike had such a good on-air thing going on, and it was terrifying to leave it. But in hindsight, everything's worked out okay.
So from 2XS, what was the next gig after that when you left? You broke that 11-year partnership. Where did you go to from there?
Just to the edge.
To the edge.
I've been ever since. Yes, I've only been at those two stations, and this surprises a lot of people. I've never been fired, not once.
You lucky man.
I don't know how.
What's the silliest or craziest thing that you've ever done on the edge? I know there's so much stuff that you've done. Share one or share a couple. We've got a while.
I don't know. I don't know. That's probably more for other people to say, really, I guess.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. So I do want to get your opinion on this. By the way, we haven't prepped this because I don't prep. This guy's amazing, but I don't prep anything. Do you think that you and JJ, when you were having that partnership together on air in particular, you shared a lot of stuff, which was great, which must help you connect with your audience, because people didn't do that sort of like as much anyway, I don't think, sort of like 30 years ago. I can't remember them doing that. Certainly not in the early days of radio. And I'm not saying whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but do you ever feel like you shared too much? That you go, God, we've got ourselves into that cycle now where everything is out there. Do you ever regret that, or do you think, well, that's just the way it is? That's part of the gig.
I don't. No, I don't know. I don't think I really regret it. Like you only share what you're comfortable in sharing. So you have to sort of wear that. And if you look at someone like Howard Stern, I think one of his biggest strengths is probably being like vulnerable on the air. Like he still has a 60-something-year-old man, and the highest paid broadcaster in radio history. He's got a very thin skin, and he's very vulnerable, and he talks about that stuff on the air. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit more wary about it now. Like with my current girlfriend, like I've resisted sort of talking about her on the air too much, and I don't know. I suppose I'm at that stage or age in life where you just want to have like some things that you keep to yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Probably not too many regrets. The only thing is, I suppose it's a double-edged sword in a way. Like when me and JJ were going through IVF stuff, trying to have a baby. Like if you talk about that on the air, then you get a whole lot of emails and calls from well-meaning people offering advice and offering suggestions and things. And sometimes, if you've had a round of IVF and it didn't work, all you just want to do is bury your head in the sand. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. I suppose there's not too many regrets, but.
Do you think you and JJ would ever work together on air again?
Perhaps. I mean, anyone that I've worked with, I'd work with again, because it's always been a wonderful experience. There's no one that I've ever worked with that I'd think, right, that's it, never again.
Yeah.
Even the one that took me to employment court.
Okay, no comment. The dog's going to start to bark now. Tell me about the running, because and can I just say, this man he's run a lot of marathons, and he's also raised tens and thousands of dollars for people over the years when he's been running them as well. But where did your love of running come from?
Well, I ran a bit at school, I suppose, because we were sort of like growing up. We were sort of like a running and tennis family. Like Dad played tennis, Mum used to run. So if your parents are doing things like running marathons, you start to think, well, if they can do it, then anyone can do it. You know what I mean? Your parents sort of set the parameters of what you think is possible. So I never thought it was that big a deal. I ran a bit at school. I wasn't particularly fast or particularly good at it. Then I gave it up and was doing radio. And then when I got to like my late 20s, early 30s, I was overweight and quite unhealthy, and I started running again. And then just sort of like fell in love with it. And to be honest, I think now it's probably quite important in terms of doing the breakfast radio hours, because it's a young man's game, and as you get older, like I'm 47 now, it definitely doesn't get any easier. But I think if you're physically fit, it definitely makes it more manageable. That's for sure.
So how many marathons do you think you've done? I know that you've done some of the big marathons around the world, and I know your mum, Susan, has run a hell of a lot of marathons as well. Oh, here we go. He's going to show us, I think. Let's have a look.
Yeah, this is called a 6-star finisher medal. So when you've run the 6 major marathons of the world, which are Boston, Tokyo, London, Berlin, Chicago, and New York, you get one of these.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Seriously.
Hideous design, though, isn't it? Terrible design. Look at
no, I think I'd take it. I'd take it any day.
I wear this to work on Metal Mondays.
Man, that's just, that's incredible. That must be, would you class that as your biggest achievement? One of your biggest achievements? Surely.
I guess that was more like a fun thing to do. Like, I mean, just going to all those amazing destinations of the world, and getting to run in these big events. That was cool. That was really fun. I think my biggest achievement would probably be a thing we did on the air a couple of years ago called 5 and 5, where I ran 5 marathons in 5 days for this Waikato family, actually, called the Forbes family, to raise money for their daughter and her cancer treatment in Barcelona. First of all, like the getting to combine like a couple of my favorite things, running and radio, that was cool. And getting through that challenge, a physical challenge of that magnitude, it's not something I was sure I was able to do. So it was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And thirdly, and probably most importantly, just the public buy-in. So as the week went on, and we got through 1 marathon, then 2 marathon, then marathon number 3, and marathon number 4. But the Give a Little page, the numbers just started like flying up in a big way.
So what did you end up raising?
In the end, it was like I think 260K. Which was like, and the family needed every last cent of that, and they were just so grateful, and such a humble family, and so embarrassed about the fundraising that was going on for them, and that just made me want to do it for them even more.
I interviewed Rod Dixon the other day, name dropper that I am, and I mentioned that, and he said, no, because he's based in LA now, and he goes, I heard about that. He said, that's incredible, 5 marathons in 5 days. That's from one of the best, best in the business. He was blown away. He said, man, that's cool.
That guy's a beast, and it's quite funny. Like when you go to like New York and Boston during the marathon season, you understand just what a big deal what that guy managed to achieve and what Alison Rowe managed to achieve is, because you see like bunting sort of banners all around town with their faces on and previous winners. You know, that guy is an incredible get. I was watching it thinking, does this guy know Sean's only got about 30 people watching this?
Yeah, I know. No, I did tell him that. He doesn't mind though. I think 30 is being generous, quite frankly.
Yeah.
No, it was I love that. And he actually started to well up as well. He still gets emotional about it today. Yeah. Really humble guy.
I mean, non-runners probably don't really give a shit about this, but the time that he ran in the early 80s still stacks up as a really, really decent time. And you think about how far technology's come that way in terms of, you know, training knowledge, nutrition knowledge, and the shoes you wear. And that guy had nothing. It was like the dark ages, and it was still just a phenomenal time.
Yeah, and it is, and he talked about that. He said that the shoes they do make a huge difference. But you know, it's incredible because he knew he was going to win that. That's how his mind works. He went into it. He went there the year before to check it all out, and then he went in there and he absolutely knew he was going to win. Incredible man, really. We've got some comments coming in. Oh, Johnny Love have you ever met Johnny Love? Johnny Love's a kind of a cool guy. He's organised this vision. Isn't it a cool name?
I love a name like that.
Yeah, I know. Why can't I be called Johnny Love? Sean No, he's started this thing called Vision Week. And it's go to visionweek.co.nz sometime tonight, guys, because he's done a phenomenal job. He's got all these speakers from New Zealand about sharing vision, and you can contribute to it. And he's a very clever guy.
Right.
Brett Maber has said 31, and I'm not quite sure why. Ryan Edwards. He's a radio legend, a good bloke back in 1990 and a good bloke now. Yeah.
Hey, Ryan.
Here's his
name. Ryan was in Palmy for a while. I'll tell you what, that station in Palmy, it really was the little station that could. Like, it was a training ground for so many incredible broadcasters, you know.
I think you're right. And, you know, we did, anybody that went, here's the thing, and I try and instill this in my sons, is that you talk about, you never thought, oh, we're in Palmy, we can't do this. That was in the culture from all the people that were there. You were just like, we're just as good as the Aucklanders. We're just as good as, we've got a recording studio that we can record stuff in. I mean, like, remember our imaging in those early days with J.R. Nelson, and it was done from America, and it was just like, it's just a bit over the top, I suppose, but it was like, you know, red hot to excess.
That's right. J.R. Nelson, this big, like, ballsy American voiceover guy. I think he was from Z100 in New York. So on their station, it was like, from the top of the Empire State Building, it's Z100. And then we had this shitty little station in Palmerston North, like, from number 178 Broadway Ave, 2XS.
My friend Brett Maber has just clarified that what he was saying is that it's not 30 viewers, it's now 31 because he's joined in. Thank you, Mr. Maber. Right. You're good, man. And we'd have these sweepers, so it's like the little station IDs, and one of them from this American voice would go, "Crack kills," and it's like nobody in Palmerston North knew what crack was. Like, really, really. The station is better than sex, which back then was like, oh my God, I think we played that at midnight or something.
So did he do the imaging, the voiceover stuff specifically for the station in Palmerston North, or did we just like rip it off cassette tapes or whatever?
No, he did it. No, we got it done. Like he would, Roger Beaumont, who has just tuned in, he would do these great promos, and then they would get voiced by J.R. Nelson. And there'd be some great writing in there. It'd be like, and then we're going to send you to Disneyland where you can see the big mouse. What crazy shit. Remember all that Hubba Bubba
before its time.
Remember that Hubba Bubba downstairs? That was bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah. So at the station 2XS in Palmerston North, there was this downstairs area which was the staff just nicknamed it the cave. It was just a storage room. It wasn't an actual cave, believe it or not. And there was just I think Roger Bowman had something to do with this. The delivery of like just
1 million pieces
boxes and boxes, just a phenomenal amount of Hubba Bubba stock. Like if you tipped all the packets out, probably maybe 20,000 packets of it. Like so much Hubba Bubba. It must have been expired stock, but I mean it's gum. So when does it expire? So I used to go down with Sean. Sean would be smoking. Was smoking still legal inside? I'm guessing it was.
Well, they took a vote. Remember, they said that, and virtually all of us smoked, and it was like, we're going to take a vote on who thinks that we should still be able to smoke inside the radio station. We're looking at each other going, what the hell? What do you mean? Whether or not we're smoking away, ashtray next to the typewriter, typing away. It's like saying that we're not going to be able to smoke inside. How ridiculous. And then the vote came out and it was, the vote is out, and you're now going to have to smoke downstairs. We're horrified. So we'd go down to the cave.
Down the stairs?
We'd go down to the cave where all this Hubba Bubba was stocked, and we'd be smoking our asses off. There'd be smoke everywhere. You'd open the door, and the smoke would pour out. And it was like, for those of you who ate Hubba Bubba in the 80s, late 80s, and had that smoky taste to it, you now know why. Oh my God! How about the books? You've written a lot of books. How many books have you written?
Three books. Yeah, they're good. They're not great. They're not great money spinners. Like for the work that goes into them, it's probably works out an hourly rate of about $1.50, I'd say. They're a fun thing to do. Like a really fun thing to do. It's not something that I would have ever had the courage to suggest I do myself, but we had one of the book publisher company that did all of them was called Allen and Unwin, and they brought in an author one day, and the publicist was like, "You should write a book. You've probably got a book in you." And until I ever said that, it's not something I'd ever thought about. So we organised a lunch meeting. We sort of nutted out some ideas, and then we settled on the first book, which was called Bucket List of an Idiot, which basically was just involved doing some dumb shit and then documenting it. And it sold particularly well. Like it was a New Zealand level bestseller. So then they asked for the second book, and then we did a third book. But it's if it wasn't for the belief of the guys at Allen and Unwin for suggesting I do it and then helping me along, there's no way I would have ever thought I had it in me. That's for sure.
So how do you go about writing it? Because I've got a very, very good friend, Josh Easby, who publishes books, and he always told me the mistake that a lot of writers make is that they'll write a chapter and then they'll go, actually, that's no good, and they go back and they fiddle around with it, and it's still no good, and they never get any kind of momentum. He said the thing is, what you should do is you just keep writing, get a draft done, and then go back. Is that how you went about doing it, or what's the process? Yeah,
actually, probably similar to that. There's a book called The Artist's Way, and it talks about just getting up every morning and writing for like 90 minutes or something, and just write whatever comes to your head. Don't write with any sort of like publishing thing in mind. Just write whatever is like stream of consciousness sort of stuff. I read that book, The Artist's Way, after I'd written my books, but I thought, in a way, I kind of did what was in the book, in the respect that so you sign a contract with the publishers and they pay you like an advance. Like for me, it was like, say, $5,000 up front, and then they give you another $5,000 when you deliver the manuscript. So you got a pocket full of cash, you got a contract, and you've got like 8 months or 6 months or whatever it is to write the manuscript, which is 70 to 90,000 words. So at that point, you're like, fucking sweet, I'll do this later. And then like a month later, you're like, oh, it's 5 months to go and I haven't done any words yet. You get the calculator out and you work out how many words you have to write each day to do it on time. And then every day you miss out on writing, like that number of words gets higher and higher, and it gets terrifying. So in the end, it got to the point I was like, fuck, even if I've got writer's block or I've got nothing, if I'm not vibing it today, I just need to sit down and write, and maybe there'll be something in there that I can rework down the track, but I just need to spend time in front of the screen. And surprisingly, even if you go into it feeling that way, you usually end up salvaging something out of the shit that you put down.
Yes. Tell me this. I know that you are actually a very modest guy and a very humble guy. And you said earlier, hey, it's for those others to probably say that. But what are some moments in radio? And I don't mean the awards and so forth or the ratings. What are some moments where you've gone, where you look back in your first 30 years and go, actually, I'm pretty proud of that. That was kind of cool. Can you share just some moments that that you particularly enjoyed? It might be promotions or something that you've done on air where you've gone, yeah, I liked that.
Oh shit! There's been heaps. One of the big ones is probably we did this thing years and years ago when Tom Cruise was in Taranaki filming that movie, The Last Samurai.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, it doesn't matter. It's not one of his best movies. Not exactly Top Gun or Jerry Maguire. But we had this idea called the Tom Cruise bounty. We were offering $5,000 if anyone could get Tom Cruise on our show. And I mean, it was a long shot, but I got it over the line with our boss, Leon. I said, listen, everyone in Taranaki is talking about Tom Cruise. We won't have to give away the money because it won't happen. But even if it does happen, it'll probably be worth the $5,000. But it won't happen, so your money's safe. So it's sort of like you win if you do, win if you don't. Yeah. Anyway, what happened is there was like so much. This was like 15 years ago or whatever. So it was a lot of money. It's a lot of money now, but it was even more money then. But there was a lot of people lurking around the set, lurking around the house where they thought Tom was staying, just basically trying to get Tom with the phone to get the $5,000 and get him on our show. So it got to the point where his security, it ended up, being on Tom Cruise's radar. So Tom's office in LA ended up phoning our office in New Zealand saying, hey, we really want to put this to rest, and so Tom can just focus on the movie. Can we work with you guys? And it ended up there was a whole lot of shit going on behind the scenes. And they were like, Tom's found a school that he wants to help out with a sun shelter. There's a school in Uranui that he flew over every day from where he was staying to the set in Taranaki. So they needed like a $15,000 sun shelter for the kids. So his publicist's office in LA were like, if you guys can up that amount for the bounty to $7,500, we'll match it. And then, it's good PR for you guys, good PR for us. And we, so Tom Cruise, we were just like, okay, this Thursday or Friday morning, when Tom finishes on set, he's got a night shoot. He's going to call you guys on your private hotline number. So we were just sitting there trying to do the show, just looking at this light, waiting for it to flash up. And then Tom Cruise called, and we had maybe a 30-minute unrestricted chat with him. Normally, if you have a chat with someone like Tom Cruise, it's 7 or 8 minutes. There's a publicist sitting on the line. You don't sort of ask any personal questions. You don't deviate from chat about the movie he's promoting. And it's very, very micromanaged. But this was like 30 unrestricted minutes with Tom Cruise. And then at the end of it, he sent us a bunch of flowers and a thank you card and invited us down to watch him on the set and hang out with him. And then he phoned us again the day he left the country, and it was phenomenal. And it was all over the news at the time because he hadn't done, apart from a popity at Taranaki Airport when he arrived, he'd done no media. So this was the only sort of media there was. So to me, that was phenomenal utilization of the radio airwaves, I guess. And, the fact that radio could have that much power and you could get like an A-lister on the phone like that and also do some good. It was like a perfect storm of just great stuff going on.
Yeah. How about influences in New Zealand radio that have had an effect on your career that you've learned a lot of or have been helpful in your career? Oh God,
there's so many. First of all, Mike, who we talked about before, who I spent 11 years with in Palmerston. I learned so much off that guy. Just an incredible amount. Kevin Black, the late great Kevin Black, who now there's a New Zealand radio award called the Blackie Award, which sounds if you're not from New Zealand, it probably sounds maybe quite offensive. But Kevin Black, phenomenal broadcaster, and I was lucky enough to work in the same building with him in Auckland for a few years, and he became quite a good mate. And even in the last few years of his life, just no ego, no nothing about him. He was a real gentleman. Just an absolute gentleman of the game. Then there's others that I don't know very well that I suppose I've drawn stuff from. Shut up, Banjo.
Banjo, stop it.
Henry and Holmes, and I suppose even Hoskins to a degree. You just watch other people and watch.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I talk. You know, news talk's a very different sort of genre to, you know, top 40, you know, entertainment radio. But it just goes to show, you know, I suppose with all those three, Henry, Hoskins, and Holmes, that just the power of being sort of polarizing and, you know, not being scared to not be everyone's friend, if you know what I mean.
How hard is getting up? What time do you get up each morning?
It does get like 5 minutes later each year. It's about 4:45, 10 to 5.
Quarter to 5. How hard is that, doing that? And I know that there are people in other industries that do it as well. But so how many years in breakfast radio now?
Pretty much.
Pretty much
28.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much all. So the first 2 years were even more unpleasant. They were midnight to 6, then breakfast afterwards. So it's been strictly breakfast for like 28 years now.
Does it get easier?
No, I wouldn't say it gets easier. Like in the weekend, I sleep in. If I'm on holiday and I don't set an alarm, I don't naturally wake up at that time. I don't know. Once you're up, it's fine. Yeah. I mean, there's some days where it's harder than others. I think the really hard thing, Sean, is probably not so much the getting up early, but it's the having to go to bed early. It's like I'm so antisocial during the week. So you have quite a bit of pressure from like management and stuff to, you know, live the life of your audience and, you know, do what your audience is doing, be where your audience is at, be social, do this, you know, get real stories. And it's like, you fucking get real stories and also get up at 4 a.m. the next morning. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm in bed by like 8:30 to 9 o'clock at night. I hardly ever go out for dinner. If I have friends coming over for dinner or I see friends for dinner, I know it's got to be like a 6 p.m. meal. You know, it's very, very antisocial. And I'd say it's even worse. I don't know him personally, but I follow Mike Hoskins' wife, Kate Hawkesby, on Instagram. Yeah. And you see those two arrive at the lift at ZB at like 3 a.m. So I don't know what time they're going to bed, but it's probably like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I don't know. It is no life.
How about famous people that you've met? You mentioned Tom Cruise before. In your role, you do get to meet, you know, famous people, obviously.
Yeah.
Can you share a few where you've, you know, thought you've met that person and you've gone, shit, they were really, really cool?
I don't. When Tom Cruise was amazing. It was shortly after that, like a couple of years after that, he jumped on the sofa on Oprah, and everyone thought, "Oh shit, Tom Cruise is mad." But our experience with him was amazing. Maybe he was acting, you know, for good PR or whatever. But I've got not a bad word to say about the guy. Ed Sheeran's always been amazing. Like we've had him in studio maybe 5 times at different stages of his career. Each stage he's been on an upward trajectory, and he's just the same humble guy every time. I remember, one time, just when he was on the cusp of like becoming a real big star, I said to him something like, "Oh, you're a really good guy. Make sure you don't become one of those wankers that makes us come to the hotel or backstage at the arena to interview you, because we really appreciate it when you come in." He goes, "Oh no, don't worry, I'll always come, and I love it. I love coming into radio." Then the next time we saw him, we had to fly to Melbourne and interview him at his hotel. And the first thing he said when we walked in was, "Oh, I've become one of those wankers."
Love it. How good is that?
I don't know. Yeah, forgive him.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Who else? We had Justin Bieber in a couple of years ago as a really big star, and he was all right. Like I think he's a bit misunderstood. I mean, he had like a really interesting thing. He had like a lapel mic on because it was being filmed for TV cameras as well. And just before the interview started, he paused to go to the toilet, which maybe like 20 or 30 meters away from the studio. So the lapel mic started cutting out. But the sound guy in the studio, he was like, "Oh, Justin Bieber's left his mic on. Like I can hear him taking a piss." So I picked it up at the other end of the building, and then we could hear the door open a second time, and someone came in, was like, "Oh, hey, Justin, I don't suppose now would be a good time to ask for a selfie." And Justin Bieber was like, "Nah, man, it's all good, and not really appropriate. But all love, man, all love." And then see ya. And then he washed his hands, got out, and then you can hear Justin talking to a security guard who was outside. Walking back, he goes, "You won't believe what the fuck just happened. The guy just asked me for my photo in there. Grown-ass man, too. Fucking unbelievable."
I love it. I love it.
We sort of dined out on, but we didn't know that until after the interview because the sound guy didn't tell us, but we dined out on that for about a week because it's like, just a phenomenal insight into the life of this young kid.
Hey, you've achieved a lot, not just in your 30 years of broadcasting, but you are a person that has got a lot done. You've done the books, you've done the marathons, you've done the radio. Are you a person, and this might sound like a weird question, but are you a person that is like constantly writing down goals and just wanting to cross them off? Like at the start of the year, you go, right, I'm going to do this, and this, or do you just sort of go with the flow and just go, I think I'm going to, I may as well do 5 marathons in 5 days. Like, how do you run at things? Excuse me.
I know all about the importance of goal setting. I've read so many. I'm sort of like you when it comes to books. I love like those motivational, inspirational books. But I've been terrible at it, and part of it's probably, if I'm being honest, like a self-confidence thing or a self-belief thing, or rather a lack of it. That comes from growing up in a place like Palmerston North. Like when I sort of found, like growing up in a place like Palmy, regional New Zealand, and going to school like Palmerston North Boys High, you don't dare like dream too big or vocalize your dreams, because people will just like shit on you and shut you down and tell you can't do it. So you grow up with this sort of mentality like that. At least that's what I sort of found. So I've sort of, as I said to you before about the books, how the publishers were like, oh, you should do this. We think you better do it. I haven't sort of set myself goals like that. It sort of requires other people to sort of coax me into doing it, I guess. The running's probably the only exception to that, in the respect that that's just sort of been like an evolution. Like I started running to lose a bit of weight. Then I trained for a marathon. I did a couple more marathons, and then I thought maybe I'll try and run a faster marathon. And then so just sort of the cumulative effect of years and years of running got me in a position where I was able to run 5 marathons in 5 days, to fundraise for this young girl.
How was the start of that? How did you feel on day 5, the start of day 5? Were you get feeling, I'm going to be able to knock this 5th one off, or were you feeling a bit of pain, or how was that?
I was feeling a bit of pain, but on day 5, phenomenal. I felt amazing.
Did you?
Because my biggest concern, like on the lead up to it, I was shit scared. It was the most terrifying thing. What's that? Oh, yes, please. Yeah. Mum's just getting me a wine.
Oh, Susan.
So at the beginning of it, like in weeks leading up to it, I'd wake up in the night just freaking out. It was like there'd been, they say never read the comments. There'd been some like articles written on staff and comments underneath. Oh, this is bullshit. Nice publicity stunt by the Edge again. Like he'll do 2 days, then he's going to crap out and he won't be able to do it. And that stuff, it hurts your feelings, because you're doing something with a good heart, trying to have a really good family, and people are just like, being negative about it. And I was scared about that, because I didn't know what was going to happen. Like if my knees crapped out on day 3 and I physically was unable to run anymore, my boss at the time, Ryan, he was like, oh, if that happens, mate, we'll figure out a story, and we'll figure out a happy ending. We'll figure out a way that we can manage it media-wise. But I didn't want that to happen, and thankfully it didn't happen. So by the time we got to Friday morning, which was day 5 and the 5th marathon, even though my muscles were really sore, structurally my body was fine. Like I didn't have any ankle issues or knee issues or anything, which meant I knew I was going to finish it. And thanks, Mum.
Susan, come and say hi, Susan. Come on.
Very healthy.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
This is Susan. This is Dom's mum, and we're great Facebook friends. And Susan, how many marathons have you done?
47.
47 marathons. What's the goal? How many are you going to do?
This one. But I was meant to be in Boston, but due to COVID, I've cancelled it. So it's got to be next year. That's my last one of the major.
And then you get the same thing as he's got. I wish you well for that.
It's
Susan.
a pretty elite club.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, it's amazing.
You've got to be very rich. It's a long travel.
No, good on you. That's amazing. Well, I wish you all the best for that, Susan.
Thank you.
All right.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
You organise your own club with Sean.
I might just interview her. I might do a Mother's Week or something. So what else can we talk about? God. There's so much, isn't there? You've done a lot of travel, haven't you?
Yeah. Same as you. I love travel.
Yeah.
I've just got such a thirst for it. I love it. It's yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I was terrible at school and I hated history at school. But then when you go to some of these places that you learn about in history, it makes so much more sense when you've actually been there yourself. Yeah. I love it. I live for travel. But I'm
favorite country.
What's that?
Favorite country.
Maybe Turkey.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went to Turkey last year. I bloody loved it.
Cool.
Yeah, got to do the Kiwi Rite of Passage and go to Gallipoli and spend a bit of time in Istanbul and went to Cappadocia. I loved it.
Hey, there's a wonderful meme out that says, for those of you in 2015 who predicted where you were going to be in 5 years' time, you got it all wrong. But like, which I thought was kind of cool. But like, what are some of the other things, whether it's personal or work, that you would like to try and do in the next 30 years? And I know that's kind of deep, but there must be some. You are a kind of guy that just, you get a lot of shit done in your life. Is there some other stuff that you can share with us that you go, would like to tick this off?
I don't. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know. Like,
no.
I just sort of assess things as they come, and that probably seems like a sloppy attitude when I should be setting goals or being more aggressive. But I just like to keep myself busy enough at any given time. And I don't like being too busy. You know how a lot of people are like, you need to seize the day and do more and do this. It's like I need a bit of downtime, and I know exactly what I need to make me, to work. So I don't know what the future brings, but I found just by working hard and working every day, doors sort of open to you along the way, and
I totally agree with you on that, and I have learnt that over probably the last 2 or 3 years in particular. Is that you see people and they're running around with a notebook and like, I've got so much to do, and it's going 100 miles an hour. Where actually, and I've been thinking about this lately, just with people that I represent and so forth, is that you do actually pick up some common traits of people that get a lot of shit done. And one thing that I have noticed is that there is this calmness about people that get a lot of stuff done. They're busy, they're focused, they want to get stuff done. But there's like a calmness. So like this guy, sorry, I'm going to plug him again, Johnny Love, who's done this Vision Week thing. Like I talk to him and I'm just like, what he's done is absolutely incredible, seriously. Like he's got speakers from everywhere and he's put this together in less than 6 weeks. And I'm sure that he's stressed and he's got a lot happening, but he's calm. He's just like, right, now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to get onto this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I just try and keep things on a fairly even keel. I mean, there's a book I read last year that I really, really like. It's a guy called Elvis Duran, who's I still like following his career a bit because he's in his mid to late 50s. He's still doing the breakfast show on a top 40 station in New York. 'Cause when you get to late 40s, I suppose you are a bit out of place on a top 40 pop culture driven sort of station. That's just a reality of it.
Yeah.
But even though you're no longer in the age of the demographic necessarily, you just have like a different sort of set of experience, whatever. But this guy Elvis, in his book, he talks about how he's good friends with Ryan Seacrest, and he's like Elvis. His agent's always like, "Hey, we've got this opportunity. We've got to get you on E! Channel." And Elvis is like, "You know what? I'm happy doing my radio show, and I don't need to do anything more. I don't want to be more famous." And he goes, and it's fine for like Ryan, who's like doing this and doing that and every other thing. But he's like, that's just not me. Like, I don't want to be that busy. I want to do 1 or 2 things and do them well. And maybe I'm a bit like that, I guess.
I think you are. Hey, it's been great chatting. You've given me almost an hour, given us all almost an hour. I want you to go and enjoy that glass of red with your wonderful mother. First of all, I want to thank you for your incredible friendship. You've over 30 years. I consider you one of my closest friends, and this is what Dominic is like. If you're lucky enough to be his friend, I've had ups and downs in my life, and whenever I've had a down, it's like Dominic is there. He's in a car. He's driving to Hamilton going, how you going, buddy? That's what he's like. But also, thank you for everything that you've done for the people that you've helped. You've raised tens of thousands of dollars for charities, for listeners over the years. And thank you for entertaining us. Thank you for entertaining us. And here's to raise your glass, because I haven't got one. Here's to the next 30 years, my friend.
Yeah, are you not drinking again?
Oh, I'm always going through stages.
And I love that about you. Cheers, Sean. And not many, for the people that do remember this, they'll know, but you used to run a company called Studio Time.
Yes, that's right.
And with the headphones that you've got on tonight and the current state of your head, you look like the Studio Time logo.
Do you know, I just picked that up, seriously, like a day ago. I went, I look like the Studio Time logo. That's what I thought. So funny.
You literally do. I appreciate the time, mate. You're an absolute legend, and you were very inspiring to me, especially early on in both our careers, actually, but you still are now. I know how resilient you are, and how, you and my good friend Robert, our good friend Robert, yes. Like we often talk about you and just how resilient you are and how you're a survivor, and you always manage to pick yourself up and find something and do it well.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting to us, and all the best for the next 30 years.
Oh God, 77 in 30 years. I mean, who knows if radio will still be around in 30 years? Who knows? Let alone us.
You'll still be kicking ass. I tell you that much. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.